The morning sun rose, casting a warm glow on the village below the Bodhi tree. Disciples gathered in quiet anticipation, their eager faces turned toward the Buddha. His presence radiated calm, a stillness that resonated through the gathering. He looked upon his disciples, each at varying stages of understanding. The air carried the gentle fragrance of blossoming flowers, symbolizing the spring of their learning. Spring is the beginning, the Buddha began, his voice like a tranquil stream flowing through their thoughts. In the spring of life, the mind, like the earth, is fertile and open to seeds of wisdom. The Buddha noticed a young boy sitting apart, hands clasped tightly, eyes wide with wonder and fear. "What troubles you, my child?" he asked gently, his tone inviting the boy to speak. The boy stammered, "I do not understand, Master. How do I begin the path when all paths seem strange?" The Buddha smiled softly, as though he had anticipated this question. "A seed does not question the soil," he said. "It simply allows itself to grow where it is planted." He continued, his gaze sweeping across the disciples. "When I was a young prince, surrounded by pleasures, my mind was clouded with questions." The disciples listened attentively, leaning forward to catch his every word. "One day, I wandered into a garden. There I saw a farmer struggling to plant seeds in rocky soil." He paused, his eyes reflecting the memory. I asked him why he toiled so arduously. He replied, "The land provides when one has patience and faith." The Buddha turned his attention back to the boy. "Just as the farmer trusted the earth, you must trust your mind's potential." The boy's expression softened, as though a great weight had been lifted from his young shoulders. Encouraged, the Buddha addressed the wider assembly. In life's springtime, distraction is abundant, as the blooms attract bees and butterflies. Yet focus is essential. A middle-aged man, burdened with questions, spoke hesitantly, "Master, what if one spring has passed, and no seeds were planted?" The Buddha's gaze rested on the man, his expression compassionate yet unwavering. "The soil of the mind does not harden with age. Unless neglected," he replied. "It is never too late to cultivate wisdom. Even barren fields can sprout when given care and effort." The man nodded slowly, his furrowed brow easing as he absorbed the teaching, encouraged by the Buddha's words. Another disciple asked, "How do we know which seeds to plant, and which to discard?" A moment of silence passed, as if even the wind paused to hear the response. "Plant the seeds of kindness, understanding, and patience," the Buddha said firmly. "Weed out desires that lead to suffering and conflict." The Buddha continued to share his own story, weaving wisdom through recollection. "When I left the palace, I encountered an ascetic whose austerities were unyielding. He sought enlightenment but ignored compassion. His voice carried both sorrow and reverence for the memory. I asked him why he did not eat or drink. He said, 'Because the body is a hindrance to awakening.' I replied, 'The tree does not deny the rain, nor does the river spurn the sun.' His teachings shifted, addressing the balance needed in early life. Do not rush through spring, nor tarry too long upon its joys. Both extremes lead to imbalance." The disciples nodded, their faces reflecting the realization that each stage in life carried its own wisdom. Birds chirped softly in the background, their melodies underscoring the Buddha's message like nature's own sermon. "Spring is fleeting," he said, his voice tinged with a profound yet gentle urgency. "And yet its lessons last a lifetime." One of the disciples, an older woman, asked in a hesitant voice, "Master, can one return to spring's lessons if they were overlooked?" The Buddha's eyes twinkled with kindness as he responded, "Just as the river seeks the sea but returns as rain, you can revisit wisdom's source." The disciples marveled at his analogy, drawing comfort from the thought that wisdom was timeless. Then the Buddha pointed to a tree nearby, its blossoms vibrant and fragrant. Observe this tree. Its blossoms are transient, yet the roots remain strong and enduring. His disciples followed his gaze, their eyes softening in newfound appreciation of the lesson embodied by nature. Your virtues are the roots, he continued, anchoring you when life's seasons change. Without strong roots, the blossoms falter. He noticed a restless energy among some younger disciples, their gazes occasionally wandering. Youth is like the spring wind, he said, addressing their unspoken distraction. It can scatter seeds or uproot them, depending on intent. The younger disciples lowered their eyes, reflecting on the wisdom imparted by their teacher. The Buddha smiled, understanding their struggle, yet confident in their growth. He shifted focus to the essence of gratitude. In spring, we must also learn to honor the gifts given freely by life. He recounted a moment from his youth, when he had received food from a kind stranger during his journey. That stranger taught me gratitude, for they gave expecting nothing in return. Like a tree offering shade, the Buddha took a moment to observe his disciples, ensuring the wisdom was taking root within their minds. Do not mistake spring's abundance for permanence, he said, his tone solemn yet gentle. Each season passes, but its lessons endure when cherished. The sun climbed higher, casting radiant light over the assembly. As though affirming the truth of his words, a child tugged at his mother's robes, his innocence capturing the Buddha's attention. And what of the children, Master? The mother asked with a slight smile, gesturing toward her son. The Buddha's expression softened further, his love for humanity evident in his response. Children are like saplings. Care for them, guide them gently, and they will grow into strong and wise trees. His gaze lingered on the child, and his words carried both tenderness and profundity. Remember, a child's laughter is the sound of spring itself, pure and unburdened by the sorrows of other seasons. The gathering was momentarily silent, as though nature itself bowed to the wisdom shared under the Bodhi tree. Before we conclude, the Buddha said, let us meditate on the beginnings within ourselves. His disciples closed their eyes, their minds attuned to his guidance. He led them into a state of mindfulness, focusing on the metaphorical seeds they each held. Breathe, he instructed softly, and feel the potential within, waiting to sprout in fertile soil. The minutes passed in tranquil unity, each disciple lost in their meditation, connected by the Buddha's teachings. The birds sang harmoniously, as though celebrating the shared moment of enlightenment. Now, the Buddha said, breaking the stillness, open your eyes and carry spring within you, even as the seasons change. As his words concluded, the gathering dispersed slowly, each disciple carrying newfound clarity and purpose. The Buddha remained seated, his presence a steady anchor amid the shifting rhythms of life. He watched the disciples leave, knowing the seeds of wisdom would grow in time. As each of their journeys unfolded, another day, another gathering of disciples beneath the unwavering branches of the Bodhi tree. The sun blazed above, summer's energy filling the air. The disciples sat in scattered groups, their voices hushed but vibrant, a reflection of the season itself. The Buddha arrived, his robes flowing lightly, his presence steady as the rivers coursing through the valleys. His voice resonated as he addressed them. Summer is the time of vibrancy, when life's current flows strongest. Harness its energy wisely. He seated himself near a shimmering stream, its swift waters carrying pebbles downstream without hesitation. Like this river, he began, the summer of life is relentless in its pace and power, yet it needs guidance to avoid erosion. His disciples watched the flowing waters, their minds searching for deeper meaning within the analogy. The Buddha's gaze rested on a young man, whose expression revealed an unspoken impatience. You seem restless, my child, he said gently. Tell me, what stirs your thoughts? The young man hesitated before speaking. Master, I desire more from life. My days feel incomplete, though my pursuits are abundant. The Buddha's expression softened, his tone firm yet compassionate. Desire, when unchecked, is like a river with no banks. It floods and destroys rather than nurtures. The disciples murmured among themselves, the metaphor echoing within their hearts. The Buddha continued, in summer, passion and ambition must serve a higher purpose. Else they become burdens rather than blessings. A woman of middle age, her face lined with worry, raised her hand to speak. Master, how does one balance ambition with contentment in life's summer? The Buddha looked upon her with the warmth of understanding, the kind a teacher feels for a pupil seeking clarity. Ambition is the sun that drives the river's flow, he said. But contentment is the cool shade that allows rest along its journey. Both must exist together. He paused, gesturing toward the vibrant landscape surrounding them. Once, during my travels, I met a merchant whose wealth rivaled kings. Yet his heart felt hollow. The disciples leaned closer, sensing a story that would illuminate their own paths. The merchant asked me, what good are my riches if my spirit feels impoverished? I answered, transform your treasures into gifts, and wealth will fill your soul. The Buddha's voice grew quiet but resolute. He did as I suggested, and peace returned to his heart. The young man, inspired by the merchant's story, asked, Master, can passion itself be a gift? The Buddha smiled, his gaze holding infinite patience for the question. Passion is indeed a gift when shared selflessly and cultivated for the betterment of others. His disciples reflected on his words, their expressions softening with understanding. The Buddha gestured toward the stream once more. See how its waters nourish the banks it touches. So too must your passion nourish your life's journey. One disciple, an elderly man whose summer had long passed, hesitated before speaking. Master, what of those whose energies have waned? The Buddha's gaze rested on him, tender and reverent. The river flows more gently as it nears the sea, but its purpose remains unchanged. Even in quieter currents, there is wisdom to be shared and kindness to be offered. The sun cast shadows upon the disciples, marking the passing of the hours. The Buddha's teachings delved deeper, addressing the pitfalls of indulgence and imbalance. Beware the temptations that summer offers, he said solemnly. Pleasure unrestrained leads to sorrow, just as the river unbridled causes destruction. His disciples lowered their eyes, acknowledging the truth of his words. A disciple whose face bore the scars of past struggles spoke with courage. Master, I have fallen victim to my desires many times. How can I now redeem myself? The Buddha's expression carried both wisdom and compassion. Every river can be redirected, he replied. Begin by acknowledging your missteps and resolve to flow toward virtue. Redemption lies in the effort to change. The birds sang in the trees above, their melodies a backdrop to the Buddha's teachings. Summer is also the season to forge connections, he continued. Build bonds that enrich your spirit and those of others. Relationships, like rivers, must nurture the land they traverse. The disciples nodded, their thoughts turning to the people whose lives intersected their own. A mother holding her infant asked softly, Master, how do we nurture relationships without losing ourselves in them? The Buddha's gaze softened as he looked upon her and the child she held. Love is the sun that gives light, he said, but even the sun needs balance. Lest it scorch the earth. Nurture with care, but retain your own essence. The stream's steady flow mirrored the Buddha's unwavering words, each one resonating like a pebble dropped into water. Summer is fleeting, he said, his tone carrying both urgency and tranquility. Use its energy to build, to create, to sow seeds for the harvest to come. But do not squander its gifts. Another disciple, his mind full of questions, asked, "Master, how do we face the end of summer when it feels like life is slipping away?" The Buddha's voice grew serene, like the stream's gentle currents near the shore. Each season prepares you for the next. Accept the transitions, for they are as natural as the setting sun. The disciples closed their eyes, the Buddha guiding them into a moment of reflection. "Imagine the river within you," he said softly. "Let it flow toward purpose and gratitude. Feel its strength and peace combined." Minutes passed, the gathering united in meditation, their minds attuned to the wisdom imparted. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the ground. The Buddha's teachings concluded, yet their essence lingered among the disciples. "Carry summer's lessons forward," he said, his voice steady and kind. "Let your passions serve, your connections deepen, and your gratitude grow. Summer's vibrancy sustains the soul." As the gathering dispersed, the disciples carried the Buddha's words with them, their hearts infused with clarity and purpose. The stream continued its course, its flow an eternal reminder of the energy and wisdom that define life's summer. Another day, another gathering beneath the waning light of autumn's embrace. The leaves fell gently, their colors a tapestry of change. The disciples sat in a circle, their faces thoughtful, reflecting the season of reflection. The Buddha's presence was serene, like the still air before twilight. His voice carried wisdom tempered by years, resonating deeply with the gathering. "Autumn is the season of reflection," he began, "when we harvest the wisdom sown through the efforts of previous seasons." A faint breeze stirred, carrying the sound of rustling leaves and the scent of earth preparing for rest. The Buddha's gaze rested on an elderly disciple, his posture stooped but his eyes sharp with curiosity. "Master," the man asked, "how does one embrace the harvest when the heart feels burdened by past failures?" The Buddha regarded him with compassion, his tone gentle yet purposeful. "Even a tree that bears fewer fruits still enriches the soil below. Your efforts are never in vain." He gestured toward the trees surrounding them, their branches heavy with autumn's bounty. "Once, I met a farmer lamenting his modest harvest," he shared, his words weaving wisdom into the air. "I told him, celebrate what you have, for even the smallest yield sustains life. Reflection is not measured by abundance but by gratitude." The disciples nodded, their expressions softened by the comfort of this truth. The Buddha turned his attention to a younger disciple, her face marked by uncertainty. "And what troubles you, my child?" he asked, his tone inviting openness. The disciple hesitated before speaking. "Master, I fear the passing of time, as though life slips away with the falling leaves." The Buddha's gaze met hers, steady as the earth beneath them. "Time is like the river, flowing forward yet nourishing each moment it touches. Fear not its passage, honor its gifts," he continued, his words flowing like the autumn wind that stirred the gathering. "Reflection is not about clinging to what has passed but understanding its role in shaping the present." The young disciple's expression softened, her breath deepening as if a weight had been lifted. Encouraged by her question, another disciple spoke. "Master, how does one know if their harvest is enough?" The Buddha's response was calm yet resolute. "The harvest is not measured by quantity but by the peace it brings to the heart." The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows that mirrored the lessons unfolding. The Buddha's teachings delved into the essence of acceptance and clarity. "Autumn teaches us that life's journey is not linear," he said. "It is a cycle of effort, reflection, and renewal." His disciples listened intently, their minds absorbing the wisdom like soil welcoming the rain. A disciple whose face bore the lines of many seasons asked hesitantly, "Master, what of regrets that linger like fallen leaves? How do we let them go?" The Buddha's expression was one of deep understanding, his response measured and kind. "Regrets are like leaves that decompose and nourish the earth. Acknowledge them, but let them transform into wisdom. The air grew still as the Buddha's words settled into the hearts of his disciples. Once, during my travels, I encountered a poet mourning his lost youth, he recounted. His tone reflective. He asked me how to regain what was gone. I replied, write your sorrows into verse, and they will become eternal. Reflection turns loss into legacy. The disciples sat in silence, their thoughts turning inward, guided by the Buddha's stories and metaphors. Autumn is also a time to share the fruits of your labor, he said. Generosity enriches both the giver and the receiver. He recounted a moment from his own journey, when a stranger had shared their humble meal. That act of kindness remains with me, a reminder that reflection is not solitary but communal. The Buddha's gaze shifted to the horizon, where the sun kissed the earth in a farewell glow. Do not fear the fading light, he said, his voice imbued with tranquility. Every end is a preparation for a new beginning. His disciples watched the sunset, their hearts attuned to the cyclical wisdom of the seasons. A middle-aged disciple, her face etched with contemplation, asked softly, Master, how do we prepare for what lies ahead? The Buddha's response was steady as the rhythm of nature itself. Prepare by embracing the present fully, he said. Plant seeds of kindness and wisdom now, and trust the cycles to nurture them. The disciples nodded, their spirits calmed by the simplicity and depth of his words. The rustling leaves seemed to echo his teachings, a natural chorus to the unfolding lesson. He guided his disciples into a moment of quiet meditation, his voice a gentle thread weaving through their thoughts. Close your eyes, he instructed, and see the seasons within you. Feel the richness of what you have cultivated. The gathering fell silent, each disciple attuning themselves to the inner harvest of their journey. The wind whispered through the trees, a soft symphony accompanying their reflection. Minutes passed, the stillness deepening as the disciples connected with the wisdom of the season. Now, the Buddha said, breaking the silence, open your eyes and carry autumn's clarity forward. Let it guide you through life's transitions. The disciples opened their eyes, their expressions serene, as though they had glimpsed an eternal truth. As the gathering dispersed, the Buddha remained seated, his presence a steady anchor amid the changing rhythms of life. The trees stood tall, their leaves a testament to the beauty and impermanence of the season. The sun disappeared beyond the horizon, yet its warmth lingered, a reminder that endings are but a prelude to renewal. The disciples carried the Buddha's words with them, their hearts enriched and their paths illuminated by the wisdom of reflection. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.